Okay, everyone should be arriving back from our 5-minute break. I want to say hello to Mayor Hill. She has kindly agreed to assist us today to talk about pitching and sales. Mayor is a masterful sales trainer and speaker. Tossing traditional formulaic sales tactics, Mayor blazed her own trail to a successful sales career by being authentic, honest, and professional. She's highly regarded for her ability to make the sales process simple, effective, and fun. And proving the best person to be is yourself. I love that. Authenticity is one of my top values. So welcome to Mayor, and I will let you get to it. You are the expert, and thank you for joining us.
Sorry, thank you. I thank you for having me. I love being with entrepreneurs. I love your passion, your energy, and I hope in 25 minutes I can at least give you a taste of how simple and fun sales can be. So let's begin. Here's what I know about you entrepreneurs is you're wearing all the hats. And some fit better than others. And obviously the one that fits you best is the reason that you are in your business because you know it inside and out. But it's that sales hat that is a little too tight. It's a little uncomfortable. So you shove it back into the far reaches of your closet because you really don't want to deal with it anyway. And just for the record, according to Brevet, which is a sales agency, 55% of the people that make their living doing sales don't even have the right skills to do it. So you're not alone, and you're not alone. Sadly, most people's impressions about sales are due to this. So think about your worst sales experience and then answer these 3 questions. This is one of the slides from the Bust Your Sales Barriers challenge that I've run many times. And I'm always amazed at the response to the last question, because I ask people to think of your worst experience. What did you buy? How did that salesperson make you feel? But it's the last question that is just so curious to me. How long ago did this happen? And that seems to inform most people's impressions about sales, because they think that in order to be successful, you have to be pushy, salesy, or icky. Sales is not about getting someone to do something. And I will also hopefully relieve you right here, because it's also not about calling anybody and saying, hi, my name is Mare. How are you? Buy my stuff. That's not what sales is. So the other thing I know about you is the fear. Fear is inherent in all of us, but fear is a big one, especially in sales, because fear of not knowing the answer, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of being rejected. And so I would love to know what your biggest fear is. Just if it jumps out at you, just put it in the chat. I just would love to know what it is that's holding you back. This is probably the biggest fear of all for entrepreneurs, is the imposter syndrome. Because you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, they're going to know. They're going to know I'm not the expert that I'm pretending to be. Who am I to give advice? Who am I to tell somebody to do something? And so here's what else I know about you entrepreneurs. So you think, and this was in part of the questions, so this is an answer, and I'll regroup at the end with answering all these questions just to point out where those answers were. Your inclination is to make sure that in the first 7 seconds of meeting somebody, they know why you're the expert. They know all about your certifications and your degrees and everything, because that in your mind will combat that imposter syndrome. That will enable you to make somebody want to work with you because you have all this knowledge. It helps quell your fear of that imposter syndrome, because you basically are justifying why you're qualified to be doing what you're doing. Again, you don't need to. Oops, sorry. So the good news, sales is not complicated. Sales is about building relationships, and people are the ones that are complicated. But when you are your own authentic self, you will build the solid relationships, so you won't have to remember how you are with this person is how different you are with this person. If you're just yourself, you're the same across the board, and it's a much easier job to handle. I'm just glancing at the chat and seeing Sherry's answer to biggest fear is silence, and that's good. We're going to address that. So somebody asked about, is there a sales cycle? And this is traditionally what the sales cycle is, right? Look it up online, and these are the 7 steps. Very traditional: prospecting, preparation, approach, presentation, handling objections, closing, and follow-up. And obviously in 25 minutes, we don't have time to go through all of them, but pitching falls really under the first one, and pitching falls under prospecting, and it falls under presentation. So 2 sides of the same coin, right? You're presenting your business, and how you do it when you're prospecting versus how you do it in the presentation is slightly different, but in the end, it's really all about you being authentic. So, an effective pitch. Let's just give this one a go. I use the same sales skills I teach to talk my way into a sold-out Alabama football game. While sales is not really about talking anyone into anything, if you're in business, you need those same sales skills. Being a CEO will only take you so far. Being passionate about what you do will only take you so far. And at some point, when you have done everything that you know how to do, your sales will plateau. And that's where I come in. Hi, my name is Mara Hill. I'm a consultant and a sales trainer. My secret sauce is using the power of simplicity to teach you how to build authentic relationships in business. I work with entrepreneurs who are disappointed with their business because they never really got their sales off the ground, or they hit that wall and they don't know what else to do. Through my relationship-based signature sales system, I train entrepreneurs to get all the sales they need to create a profitable and thriving business. What would your business and your life look like if you could spend less time selling because you were selling more effectively? Give me 15 minutes and I'll show you how simple that can be. So there's a pitch. A lot of people would call it an elevator pitch, right? Because this is part of prospecting. You want somebody to lean in to say, tell me more. And now we'll break it down. Here is what I believe makes an effective pitch. I started with a story. I love my story of my talking my way into that Alabama football game. And again, if I had more time, I could break it down what sales skills I use, but they really are all about building relationships. And I had to making a connection, and I had to make a connection with each and every person I approached that day to talk my way into that game. So I started with the story. I didn't lead with my name because people are going to forget it anyway. I stuck it in the middle because, hopefully, if I'm speaking to the right person, they have leaned in and they're listening because I started with a story. I made it more interesting. So now I have a better shot that they're going to remember my name. I told you that I'm a trainer and I told you that I'm a sales trainer and a consultant. I guess that's a title. I didn't say that I'm CEO, owner, founder. Honestly, no offense, nobody cares. They don't. So you have to know what you're pitching and what your call to action is, because that is going to be different in different parts of the sales cycle, right? If you're prospecting, you are not trying prospecting. You are looking for clients. You are not hoping that somebody is going to sign on the dotted line and make a sale right there. You have just shortchanged everybody. And so you have to know what it is you're asking for. And there's the call to action, right? I work in the private equity world. That's where I do my consulting, is with private equity clients. And I was following up with one of them on, well, potential on Sunday. And as I'm giving him just a handful of sentences to stay on his radar, that was really my subject line, staying on your radar. At the end, I realized, okay, I just told him a nice story. What am I asking for? And the call to action is, who do you know who is looking to increase their sales beginning in the second quarter? I would love an introduction. So what was I pitching? I was pitching an introduction. My call to action was an introduction. So when you're prospecting, what you're really pitching is the next step. What is that next step? And it needs to be beyond, let me send you something, because sending somebody something via email, via snail mail, dropping it by, whatever that is, that's busy work. And it is an easy way for your prospect to get rid of you, because you walk away going, oh, good. Oh, good. They want more information. And really, they just said, oh, good. Oh, good. I don't have to talk to that person right now. So pitching would be the next step. That, do you want 15 minutes to sit down with them? Do you want to set up a bona fide appointment? Do you want to have them come to your showroom, your shop? What is your next step? And here is something that will change your life, that doesn't really fit into anything, but it fits into everything. When you're communicating with someone, you get one reason to be the most effective. Pick your one reason why you're communicating. Why are you calling this person? Why are you emailing? Why are you texting? Why are you contacting this person? What one reason? And it's not to check in. It's not to check in, because that's lame and boring. That will follow with one of the follow-up questions that somebody asked. So continuing on my breakdown of what makes a pitch is, you have to know your target market. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Highlight the results you offer. I have slides for all of these. That's why I'm going through them fast. Stop talking. Practice, practice, practice. So here's something else I know about you entrepreneurs, because you're so passionate about what you do, and you know in your heart that every single person on this planet needs what you offer, needs what you do. And that could be true. That could be true. But when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And here's a good illustration, because look at these three pictures, because the woman jogging, who is she? Is she a fitness person? Was she overweight and she's trying to lose weight? Is she a single mom? Is she a mom at all? Is she trying to be a mom? Now look at the men gaming. These millennial men who are clearly eating junk food and having a good old time gaming, and are willing to sit there uncomfortably for maybe hours and hours and hours, drinking beer, eating junk food. And then look at the woman in the middle, who I like to believe is a CEO, who has very important things on her plate during the day. So all three of these people, maybe all of them, could use your service, could use your product. However, each one of them requires a different conversation, right? You're going to use different adjectives. You're going to ask them different questions, because all of these people are in different places in their lives, and they would probably use your service or product differently. And so you only have finite resources. So if you're not willing to pick a target, you need a separate marketing campaign for each one of these targets. And in the beginning, you just need to pick one. It's not a forever choice. I love working with entrepreneurs. I have targeted entrepreneurs for the past many years. But what I've learned is that entrepreneurs are not able to prioritize paying for my services. I love working with you. I'm here. I understand you. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9 years old. So I get it. But I found my home in the private equity world because they can pay me. And it's because they can pay me that I can still work with entrepreneurs. I target them. My whole everything is aimed at the private equity world, but I get to come back and train you guys on my expertise, which is sales. which I do believe every single person on this planet needs sales, because whatever you're doing, you are always selling. You're selling your ideas to your boss, to your kids, to your coworkers, to your friends. Like, want to go to the movies? Okay, what movie? If you want your movie to be the one chosen, there's some sales in there. So when you target a market, you develop a vocabulary, you will learn what questions to ask, you will learn their pain points, and they will think that you are the expert. They will think that you are brilliant because you're speaking their language. You'll create stronger relationships, and being seen as the expert because you are asking the right questions and talking about the pain points, because they feel like that you are talking directly to them. They won't care what certificates and degrees that you have that qualify you as an expert, because you will just be seen as an expert. The other thing I think that trips people up a lot is features versus benefits. It's like sales and marketing, right? They go hand in hand, and just by way, to me, sales and marketing flows better, but it's really marketing and sales, because marketing is all about, hey, here I am, look at me. And sales is when the transaction takes place. Well, features and benefits are kind of the same, because the feature is the physical thing. It's that your product is a course, and it takes 6 weeks to complete, and it's an hour a day, and you get homework and all of those things, or it's 5 inches tall and weighs 7 pounds and comes in 7 different colors. And so those are the features, and entrepreneurs know their features inside and out, right? You created this thing that you are selling. You are intimate with it. You could describe it in your sleep because you know it so well. People don't care about the features. What they care about are the benefits. And the benefits can be a little more elusive, but if you know somebody's pain points, how you know whether it's a feature or a benefit, you could say it's 5 inches tall so that it fits nicely in your coat pocket. That's what they care about, that it fits in their coat pocket, that it will fit nicely under the sink or in a closet. And so when you let people know what the benefits, so when you tell them the concrete idea, and you can continue so that, or that's important because now you're speaking directly to their pain point, that pain point that you know because you have picked your target market and you know them intimately. What happens is you show your customer that you're listening to them. You show your customer that you understand them. And you show your customer that you have the solution that will solve the issue that they're having. And because you know your target market and you know their pain points, you know their issues, you know where they're hanging out, you know what they're complaining about. And so all of this becomes simple. Not easy, because again, to figure out those benefits, you have to have all those other pieces in place first. You have to know your target market. You have to know what their pain points are, because without that, you can't really address the benefits of your product or service. All right. So this is a brief recap before we go back into the questions that you all submitted. And so the 7 cycles of the 7 steps of the sales cycles, again, are prospecting, preparation, approach, presentation, handling objections, closing, and follow-up. And we talked about, well, prospecting from the elevator pitch side. I could also start my elevator pitch with, you know what? When people say, well, what do you do? What do you have? What do you do for work? I use the same sales skills that I teach and talked my way into a sold out Alabama football game. I could just say that. And that's where all of what you have, all of what you do really isn't for everybody, because I said sales, I said teach. And if that doesn't intrigue them to know that I talked my way into a sold out football game. You don't even have to be a football fan. You could just know if they don't say, oh, tell me more, or how did you do that? Or, what do you mean by that? They're not your market. And so that's the prospecting thing. And so because I could have launched into everything else I just said, but if they're not even like leaning in, they're not your market. And that's also why the last piece in the effective pitch was to practice, because I need all of those words that I put together to make my pitch to just roll off my tongue, but not in such a rote way that you're on autopilot and you're being droll and just saying it because you remember it and you're kind of looking around because you could say this in your sleep. The thing about being an entrepreneur is that you're passionate, and being passionate is probably your biggest asset. Well, showing that passion and that enthusiasm is your biggest asset. So that's what you need to do. And the silence, we're going to talk about that still. So in my simple sales cycle, this is more probably down to earth, because if you master these skills, all the rest just fall into place. Be professional. Above and beyond everything, I'm professional. You can be professional sitting on the floor in somebody's back room wearing jeans, but the professional part is that you're asking questions, you're respecting their time, you know your product, so you're not wasting their time. You were on time, you arrived on time, you adhere to the schedule. If they told you 30 minutes, you honor that 30 minutes. You're present. You are right here, right now, which is true for all of your relationships, that the more present you are, the stronger those relationships will happen, because somebody knows that you care. They know that you're listening. And so being present is huge, and it's a skill to master just really in your general life, because it's really easy to walk in. Again, when you're on rinse and repeat, because you've done this so many times, you're already thinking about what you need to do on your way home and who else you need to call and what else you need to do. And so it's really easy to go somewhere else in your mind. And social media helps us with that, right? Scrolling you could spend an hour in a blink of an eye because you're just mindlessly scrolling. So practice being present. I just talked about being enthusiastic. It is probably the single most important thing to do is say it, because even if you say it wrong, they're going to love that you are so committed and so passionate and so enthusiastic about what you do. They will excuse all those flaws. Be curious. Asking questions, being curious and asking questions is an art. And unless you're present and unless you're listening, you can't ask the questions because you didn't hear what they just said. So being curious, what do you want to know? What would help you help your customer better? Bigger, better, faster, and more effectively. Those are the questions you want to ask. And it takes practice, because there are no right or wrong questions. There's just degrees of effectiveness. So if you are trying to elicit a certain response, ask the question that will get you there. And when it doesn't, you've got to switch it up the next time. And it's really okay when you find those questions that work, that are effective, to write them down on a card, and you can use that in your presentation. You could bring out those questions, and you could say, oh, I just have a list of questions, and if you don't mind, I'm bringing out my notes because I just want to make sure I hit all the really important things. People will respect you for caring enough to be prepared enough to want to help them bigger, better, faster. Do what you say you're going to do. Probably my biggest credo. Do what you say you're going to do. And that includes think about the last time you were with a friend. Are you one of those people that says, hey, I'll call you Friday, when really what you meant to say was see you next time, but you've just committed to calling them on Friday? Did you really mean it? There's the being present and being deliberate about what you say and what you do. give yourself grace and leeway when you're promising something. Think really hard. Can you really deliver what you just said? Or do you think you're going to score brownie points by people pleasing somebody? I did a whole lecture on that last week, took an hour. So I'm giving you the highlights. Common courtesy and mutual respect, that's probably my credo. Common courtesy and mutual respect. If you treat people that way, that you will be treated like that in return. And the people that don't follow that will just really fall out of your purview. The stop talking part, when you ask a question, you need to stop talking and listen. I would rather you ask one question and hear the answer than have 10 of the best questions in the whole wide world, ask them and not ever hear the answer to them. And so when you stop talking, silence is really powerful when you're the one in charge. And so when you stop talking and get comfortable in the silence, so you will learn things from your customer that you probably wouldn't guessed, and that will help you help them bigger, better, faster, because in the end, that's what you're here to do. That's what sales is. Sales is all about serving your customer, not serving yourself. And so while I'm having this up and I'm going to go through the questions. So jump on my calendar. Again, 25 minutes. I don't have time to get into depth, but let me take 20 minutes with you and let me help you over that hurdle, that thing that is keeping you from doing what you need to do, doing what you want to do, feeling joy in what you are doing. 20 minutes. You'd be amazed at what we can accomplish in 20 minutes. I also created the ultimate pre-sales call checklist, which is just 10 things to, before you go on a sales presentation, to make sure that you do, and you'll be surprised at some of them. I would love to know, again, while I'm just gonna go through these 6 questions, and I see there's some in the chat. I'm happy to stay longer. I'm respecting that I have 3 more minutes, so I'll talk fast. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway, your biggest surprise from today is. If you could type that in the chat, I would really appreciate it. And then just going through, what's the most effective form for a pitch? That there's so many variables in that, but I will say I am the biggest fan in the whole wide world of the telephone, of speaking to somebody live, because it's only, I mean, think of if I had written this presentation down and emailed it to you. First of all, would you read it? Would you have gotten as much out of it without hearing my passion and my emphasis on certain words and slowing down and speeding up? So an effective pitch, even if it's a voicemail that you're leaving somebody, you are still showing them your passion. You're still letting them hear how much you care about them. So effective format for a pitch is verbal, I think. How do I start writing my pitch? Think of your target market, think of the issues that they have, think of what you have, and think of the benefits. What do you have that will solve that? That's how you start it. And then you want to condense it down, because you don't want to lose somebody with their eyes glazing over. What's an effective sales process? I gave you 2 forms. I gave you the traditional one that talks about closing, which I never talk about closing, because when you do it right, basically your customer is about to ask you for what it is you're selling. I promise you that. My husband used to watch me sell, and he'd say that I was leading them down the garden path because I knew the questions to ask. So, and then you have the more humanistic sales process, which were the skills that I listed, that you master that, and really all the rest will fall into place. Simple, but not easy. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. How do I quickly relay information about my business? Again, when you know your target market and you know what it is you're doing, think of my first sentence. You know what? And I started that casually. You know what? I use the same sales skills that I teach to talk my way into a sold out Alabama football game. How quickly was that? A few seconds. How do I ask for the sale? A very, very simple ask question is to, at the end of your presentation, you say, what do you think? And then you have to stop talking. because so many times you're going to say, what do you think? And then you're going to keep talking and you're not going to give them a chance to answer. And what follow-up interactions are needed? Follow-up is a course all unto itself. Add value. Every time you're calling and you're following up, add value and have one reason why you're following up. What is it that you want to accomplish in that time? All right, I'm at 10:15. I can go back through the chat and see questions, or Moira, you can direct me.
Yeah.
Do you want
Well,
me to take
yeah,
5 minutes?
5 more minutes for questions, I guess, from the audience, or let's see. People said, oh, someone asked how you got your foot into PE.
Yes. So I saw that one. And so it's interesting because as I've been working with entrepreneurs and realized, no, I really want to be in the PE market. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in the PE market, but I knew that's where I wanted to be. And I'm not corporate. I spent 17 years building a sales agency. I had a showroom at the Mart in Chicago, covered 11 states, trained hundreds of salespeople, but none of that qualifies me to speak corporate. And then I finally met somebody and I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for you to pitch me. And it took a couple months because he didn't understand personal trainer for sales. And I finally said, okay, how about a personal trainer for physical personal trainer, right? So if you're working with a physical personal trainer and you say, oh my gosh, it hurts when I do this, the personal trainer ought to know enough to say, well, if you just do this, it won't hurt so much anymore. And you do this and it doesn't hurt so much. And you're like, whoa, that's what I do in sales. And when I said that, it clicked. And then I got the introduction. So it's setting an intention. It's setting an intention, not worrying about the way that it's going to happen, but setting that intention and staying true to it.
And it looks like
See.
there's a lot of fears about following up, reaching out, and
So,
impossible to please clients.
okay. So to follow up, let me just tell you about follow up. I love follow up. I love follow up. And so think about follow up this way, because I know your biggest fear is I don't want to bother the person. Oh my gosh, I'm bothering them. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Does that mean you're calling too much? Does that mean you're wasting their time? So when I follow up with somebody and I mix it up, but why are you following up? Is it because you're seeing if they have questions on the proposal you sent? Okay, well, you can eliminate that by when you send the proposal saying, okay, I'm going to send this proposal to you on Tuesday. Let's schedule a call for Friday so I can answer your questions. One of my favorite things to do is to say, hey, I was thinking of you today because, and then you have to finish that. And it has to be true and authentic. I was thinking of you today because I know that you love cherry pie, and the Cherry Pie Festival is coming up in Traverse City, Michigan. I was just thinking about you. And so you can say, let's say you left that in voicemail. You can say, I'm going to send you the link so you'll have it. Or you could just email it to them and say, I was thinking of you today because, and the subject line could be Cherry Pie Festival, Traverse City. Follow-up is not always about asking for something. There is one reason why you're following up. In this case, the follow-up was to tell them about the Cherry Pie Festival. Does that seem innocuous? Yeah. But you know what? It keeps you top of mind. One of my students is in tech, and she was diligent. She had a huge territory, 6 states. She is diligent about her follow-up, and she had her schedule of who she saw when, and when she communicated with them, they loved her. And she did not deviate from that. And one time she showed up at her customer's place and she looked at them and she said, what's that? And they said, oh, it's a $1 million data center that we're building. And she's like, huh, that's what I do. Like, why didn't you call me? They're not going to call you. It's going to be top of mind. What is going to keep you top of mind? What is going to keep you top of mind? And so when you put the human element in it and people understand, and you only follow up with one reason, people will open your email, they'll answer your call, they'll listen to your voicemail because they know that you're not rambling. They know that you're going to say something valuable or interesting, That you're not saying, hey, it's Mayor, I'm checking in. Did you get a chance to look at that proposal yet? Hey, it's Mayor, just checking in. Did you make any decisions yet? So there's my 5 minutes. Really, jump on a call with me. Let's dive into deeper to anything that I said that's got you perplexed or that you want to master. 20 minutes, we can get it done.
Thank you so much. Yay.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for including me.
Sure. Thank you so much. We appreciate your help.
Good luck, everyone. You got this.
Everyone's saying good information.
I'm going to save the chat if that's okay.